And we're back with another Apex card coming right at you. Joining me tonight, very special guests. We got Dan Tom on. Last week, we didn't have a guest for the Apex card. This week, I brought in the big guns. Dan Tom joining me tonight to break down the entire card. Appreciate you for taking some time out of your day to come on the Hey Jive Picks YouTube channel. Please introduce yourself to all the people in the chat.
Oh, no worries. Appreciate you having me, Hey Jive. Obviously, we work together via Home of Fight, where everybody should be locked in for all sorts of content. And, I've been doing the breakdown game for, media outlets like MMA Junkie, where I still do it, thankfully. This month makes actually 7 or 8 years. I don't know, but I've been doing it publicly for a decade as far as breaking down fights go. I host the Dogger Pass podcast, took over duties there. I used to host the Protect Your Neck podcast. And just trying to parlay my experience, my lifelong experience in martial arts to the other side of the fence, which is covering this game as you do week to week, Hayden. So I'm excited to talk to you about it. I love your insights, man. You're no BS, man. I know there's a lot of people out there on Instagram and all these places flashing things, but dude, you are the real deal. I've met you in person, a good dude, and you know your stuff, man. And it looks like you've been on fire, as you have been for a minute now. So I just want to give you your flowers and thank you for having me. Well,
I mean, if I bring a guest on and they just give me all the flowers, I'm about it, bro. I appreciate that. That's awesome. I mean, you got it a lot longer than I have been in this space. So, I mean, you're an OG. You're an OG, and I'm kind of like the newbie. Even though I've been doing it 3 years, I actually just looked on YouTube. It was my 3-year anniversary like a couple of weeks ago or a week ago.
Time flies.
It does fly. It does fly. But I'm glad that we could get on the same show here and break down this Apex card because, last week's Apex card was pretty dang good. And now looking at this one, from a betting perspective, we don't have a favorite that's a minus 200 or below. Everything's over minus 200. And when I see that, and then I see what's up next week with the Contender Series, I'm like, okay, I understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to get some of these guys off their contract out of the UFC so they can make room for the newbies once the Contender Series rolls around, which I am very excited for. I don't know how you feel about the Contender Series, but I'm sure it's probably positive, right?
Yeah, it's cool. It's one of the few things I get to, like, so much of my stuff, as you know, it's like whether it's analysis or betting analysis, both kind of go hand in hand, right? That's a lot of pre-fight work we're doing, right? Hey, Drive, for these fights. For Contender Series, I do cover it for MMA Junkie, and I do a column called Grading the Winners. So it's great. I just get to sit back and enjoy the fights. I covered a lot of them live, saw a lot of great fights live there in the Apex since I'm out here in Vegas. And I just give them grades and kind of write up what I think's next, what I think their potential ceiling is relative to what I saw. And it's actually for good notes. So like whether it's a main event fighter that I have an in-depth profile on or someone who fought on Contender Series, if you actually type in that fighter's name and Grading the Winners, I don't even think you have to put my name, Dan Tom, but it does help. Their profile will actually pop up. And sometimes you'll get some interesting notes and tidbits that I'll give, off the fighters there. Like, yeah, they won and they got a contract, but it really wasn't as impressive. Some of the, did this and that. Sometimes there's details there, but yeah, you're right. Yeah. Contender Series is a big part of the ecosystem now. Hey, Jeff.
Huge. I mean, it's like pretty much the only way to get in the UFC. I mean, not the only way, definitely not the only way, but it's the best way to get in the UFC. And I think it's the best way for me to or more, I guess, bettors, just to see like your level coming into the UFC, because a lot of these guys that come into the UFC, it's like you haven't really fought anybody. Like just last week, John Yanis, it's like, okay, he did beat Nick Aguirre, who was in the UFC, but
right.
We all kind of figured like this guy's probably not UFC level unless he's willing to step in on short notice and take the fight. So at least with this, you get a full camp against another guy that's young and hungry. I can't wait for it. Next Tuesday is going to be awesome. And that's going to lead into a little bit of an announcement. So, we got some people in the chat now, people that are usually regulars to the show. But since this is Tuesday and Dana White Contender Series is on Tuesdays, there's no chance I'm going to be live streaming a betting breakdown during the Contender Series. So moving forward, I believe we're going to move the live stream to Wednesday nights instead of Tuesday nights. I was going to do Monday, but I'm like, it's probably just push it a little bit too early. People probably want to talk Contender Series Monday. So we'll do it Wednesday moving forward next week for the live betting breakdown. So we're not going to skip out on it. We're just going to move it out. and we'll have a good time that way. But I'm going to hit these chats, and then we can hop into the card. I know I saw my boy, Big Gun Brian Petrie, Dan Tom, and Hey
Hey,
John.
Big Gun. What up, Big Gun? Sorry, I had you in the background there.
No problem. Two of the best in the business. Shout out to Big Gun. I got to get you back on here, Big Gun, eventually. Dan Tom and OG over there. Super OG. Super OG. Dr. Peener in the chat, as always. Handsome Hey Jive with the fire shirt drip. Mr. Tom looking classic with the fit black toe and leopard specs. Glad to be the meat on the manwich. In the manwich. Okay. Gotta love Dr. Peener, as always.
Love it. I love it.
How we doing, fellas? You the boys. I mean, I don't want to toot my own horn, but we're coming off the cycle parlay hit last week.
Dude, I saw it. I synced it.
And I think a couple weeks ago, you were on the Long Shots Only live show, and you gave out a big long shot as well. So, I mean,
plus 3150. Yeah, we hit it. We hit that. Yeah.
That's big, way bigger than mine was. So I think by the end of the show, if we can get enough likes, we might have to build a little long shot here, you know?
Oh, yeah. I smell what the team Handsome Hey Jive is cooking.
All right. Well, here's the benchmark we're going to set. We get to 150 likes. This is early in the show. This is all we're asking. 150 likes. We'll give you a long shot parlay at the end of the show once we finish up. But I don't think we need to waste any more time, ladies and gentlemen. Let's scroll all the way to the bottom and start it with the fight that just got made yesterday. Eric McConico, Cody Brundage. It's going to be a light heavyweight bout, which is interesting because I don't think Cody's ever fought at 205, but I know Eric McConico has. And when he came into the UFC, for some reason, I saw this guy fight and I was like willing to put USD on him against Nursultan Ruzaboyev. And now I don't know if I was just completely off or if I'm just not a believer in Ruzaboyev, but I put money on him that night and it did not go well. But I really thought he was going to go in there and try to grind him out and try to get him to the ground and try to wrestle him. And he couldn't really do that. Now, Ruzaboyev and Cody Brundage, a little bit of a different type of fighter. And I'm not really sure what to do with this. I haven't really watched tape recently. I'm basically just going on what I know of both of these guys. And from what I saw from McConico, I was like, this guy is, for one, looks eerily similar to Khalil Roundtree. Bald, tatted, strong. Like I see him and I see Khalil Roundtree, but he's not Khalil Roundtree when it comes to the striking. I think he's an okay striker. And I really just liked his physicality. I like the way that he would take guys down to the ground and kind of bully him up against the clinch. Can he do that to Cody Brundage? Probably. But Cody's one of these wild cards, and I know you were telling me before the show you're not a big fan of the Cody Brundage fight. So let me hear your thoughts on this one, bro.
Well, basically, it's funny. I feel like people were too hard on Cody Brundage. Now, as a Cody Brundage defender, the guy seems like a good dude as a person. Was very vulnerable and honest about, both, the pre-fight anxieties and the boo birds and stuff you have to deal with. And I know they're professional athletes and this and that, but it's a little different. These guys are UFC fighters. They're, I don't mean this as a diss. They're both, pretty emotional dudes to get into this fighting game, right? You're having to do a lot. You don't have a team. And, at the end of the day, you're much more lower paid and at a much more fan access level than like NFL fighters or NBA players or NFL players. So I just want to say that. That being said, man, does he give his haters fuel? Because as a bettor, that's where I really hate his fights. Because as a bettor, it's almost like, and you saw this in his last fight, like every time you land a significant strike on him or get him in any kind of compromising position, he will look for a cry foul, look for a way out and disrupt the action. And as we saw, even in fights that he's won, right? Like with the Julian Marquez fight we were talking about, like disrupting the momentum in a fight is a huge deal, right? Like, not to be tinfoil hat, but that's why bettors, and I've been there, folks. That's why NBA is like one of the worst because it's such a momentum game. And the refs, people love to hate the refs, but the refs have such a strong affect on more momentum-based games, whereas football is kind of broken up into plays regardless of how it's going, so to speak. And yeah, Cody Brundage will always break up that momentum. So whether you're betting for him or against him, if you're betting for him, you're betting the knockout prop because it includes the DQ. Like I get that. Like that's always live. Bet Cody Brundage DQ, right? Like I get all that, folks. But if we're really trying to get an honest bet and an honest fight, it's tough from a Cody Brundage fight. Then you add on the fact that this fight, folks, was just added on last minute. So we're going early in the week, but Thankfully, not too early. So we actually have an up-to-date breakdown for you. Hit that like button. Thanks for joining. But I was just talking to Hey Jive about this, and the reason why everyone's like, why this fight? Why this fight? Why this fight? Why 205? I'm like, well, it's because it's a last-minute fight. Well, why book it in the first place? Well, the UFC is broadcast obligations. It's something I talk about. And, I know a lot of the bettors roll their eyes because they're like, oh, shut up. We want fights every week. And I'm like, I get you. I want fights to bet on as a degenerate too. Like, I totally get that. I'm just saying there is a cost to that. And the cost to that are fights like this to get put together last minute. So you got to, hedge out and do your math accordingly. You got to bake it into the line, so to speak, that we don't know what kind of condition either of these guys are coming in. Now, all that aside, how this fight breaks down, Cody Brundage, he's made improvements and he's shown that he can go past round one. He's not necessarily a round one or bust guy, so to speak, but that is for the most part what he's kind of shown. And on short notice, I expect a lot of, who you are to kind of show through. There wasn't a lot of time to prepare. And, when you're tired, that's when the bad habits come out and all these things. Whereas McConico, he's fought at a higher weight before, but I think that was more just out of regional stuff, like because in regionals you experience stuff like this matchup where you're just taking fights kind of up divisions. And he's actually got a decent win over Maki Patolo, a guy I love. And, he didn't do too well in the UFC, coconut bombs, but he's a highlight real fighter, really good boxing. And he stops him by body shots. But McConico is more of a jiu-jitsu guy. And he trains at the MMA lab, which means he's got a really good get-up game. So in summation, I say all that to say that I think if McConico can survive and doesn't look terrible, I think he can win this fight in rounds 2 or 3. Like, I'm not suggesting to bet this fight. You probably shouldn't. But if you want to, pre-flop, I suggest looking at McConico's odds in rounds 2 or 3 when those drop.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, right out, the odds are on the screen right now. McConico's a slight underdog. And I was thinking, how are they going to line this fight, man? Like, are they really going to make Cody Brundage a favorite? Because they ain't making him a favorite against anybody. They made that guy an underdog to Julian Marquez, who was on like a 3-fight losing streak. And then the market was like, hold on. All right, this should be around a pick 'em. And that's where we're kind of settled. So I'm like, they're not going to make Brundage a favorite. But they can't make McConico a favorite because these dudes get 0-1 in the UFC, got knocked out like easily. So what do? I think they opened Brundage as the favorite. And now, or maybe it was the other way around. I forget. They opened one of them was a favorite, but now it's settled around a pick 'em. So it makes more sense to me. I thought they would just open it as a pick 'em and let the market decide. But right now, McConico's plus 105. That's the side I'm leaning towards. I think Brundage could definitely KO him early. Brundage is not a bad fighter. Like, I think he has a lot of skills. I just don't really know if he knows how to put it all together, in the octagon. And sometimes he looks better than others. But the real concern for me is that McConico's all 3 losses are by knockout. And I'm like, well, if Brundage throws his hands early, I think he's probably the better striker. So that's what gives me a little bit of hesitancy. But sure, McConico can grind on him, man. Like, if that's what I saw in the film. I'm like, dude, this guy can grind on people. He's 35 though. At the same time, it's not like this guy's gonna do great things in the UFC. So, do I really want to put money on him? Probably not. Probably not going to be a money line side for me. The under, Cody Brundage unders are usually pretty good. Minus 120 for the under 1.5. That's not bad. It's not bad. McConico's kind of a slow cooker though. That's the only downside. If he is in control, it might take him a while.
Yeah, I'm seeing that too at Bet Online as well. They usually have it early. Yep, that's the house that I.
Yeah, it's juiced. Just went to minus 125. After I said that, the line just got steamed.
Woo! Yeah. I did pop up on my screen too. Yeah. That's probably the safe bet. Again, they didn't have camps. This is super last minute. And that that anxiety fight or flight is going to maybe create an under one way or the other for Cody.
Yeah, I can see it. Maybe his chin will be better though. 185. Or compared to 185. We'll move on from that one. That's a really tough one to have a lot of thoughts on, considering there's no props out, all that stuff. But here we go. Your girl, Yulia Stoliarenko, or Stoliarenko, as some people like to call her. Yeah. She's stepping in here against Gabriela Fernandez. Fernandez coming off the big victory over Kong Wang, Bang Bang Wang Gang. And she's a huge favorite, man. She was plus 800 or something in her last fight, and now she's minus 400. Right off the bat, that just smacks me in the face. I'm like, okay, this is for one, it's a huge step down in competition. For two, it's a huge overcorrection. What is it overcorrection? Because, like, I mean, I can't really tell you Stoliarenko is going to be getting wins in the UFC outside of a round 1 armbar. So, I mean, if you're Fernandez, keep the fight on the feet and you should tune this girl up. And I actually was watching, I was looking through the Instagrams as I usually like to do and try to see what they're up to. And there was some, I forget his name, the British broadcaster.
John Gooden?
John Gooden, I think it's John Gooden.
Yeah.
Did like something for Fight Pass or whatever. He was talking about Yulia Stoliarenko. And he said that she was coming off surgery. She had been like opening a couple gyms or like working at a couple gyms. And so basically she just had like a lot going on in her life. And for one, the surgery stood out to me. So I was like, okay, this is not really good signs for Yulia Stoliarenko here. And so ultimately, I mean, it's just like, she hasn't shown me anything on the feet. She hasn't shown me good wrestling. She showed me a good armbar, but is that really going to happen? Probably not. So, I mean, Fernandez minus 400. Honestly, I'm not really looking that way because do I really want to, lay that kind of chalk on her? No. But I do think she probably just smokes her, dude. What do you think?
Yeah, so this a different fight, but it ends up the same as the last fight, being that definite overcorrection, right? And that's the thing is like whether it's refs, going from calling things too fast to calling them not at all. Cough Jason Herzog, right? Even the best of them, this happens to. It's something called human nature, and the bookmakers make this human nature too, right? You just laid it out with the odds, and we see this all the time, right? So as bettors, what we want to make sure is it's hard to be right or wrong, right? We don't know until fight night, but what we don't want to do is we don't want to be the ones that are overcorrecting the steering wheel. We want to take advantage of the books overcorrecting the steering wheel, right? That being said, that logic, if you take it too literally, because nothing plays 100% of the time in this game. It could lead you the wrong way in this game because I actually do like Gabriela Fernandez. I thought she's had pretty high prospects. Obviously, she's not as good of a grappler as a striker, but she does have submissions on her record. So I wouldn't suggest getting cheeky with any TKO lines, which is what I'm leading to. But we talk about do or die fighters. And again, you don't want to broad brush somebody who has shown maybe some, improvements here or there. But Stoliarenko is pretty much round 1 or bust for the majority of her career, especially at least at the higher level, right? You look at her UFC level. And Gabrielle Fernandez is a girl with real pop and athleticism. You know this, Hey Jive, like when a girl has real athleticism and power, that really stands out because not a lot of them do, right? And you got to respect that. And she's also got good skills to go with it. She had a really close fight with Carly Judice, who I was high on, and she was part of that plus 3150 ticket. I cashed the Judice round 3. So that loss and that having a competitive fight, obviously that ages well. And that already aged well before that. Like, again, I already thought this girl has some skill. So I got Fernandez here. The money line is awful. And so are the round props. But I feel like you're forced to find plus money any way you can take it on this kind of a card. So if rounds 2 and 3, you'll probably get better lines than what they're listed on Bet Online. Like the Bet Online numbers right now, you'd probably have to do like half a unit on round 2 and like 0.3 units on round 3. And as long as one of those hits, you should get a unit and a half by that math. But again, I would wait for a site with better round odds if you wanted to play that.
Oh, yeah.
Or if you're a round robin guy like me, you put the round 2, the lower of the 2 that doesn't pay out as much, even though it's plus money. You don't want to maybe even half units too much for your pocketbooks. Maybe throw it in a round robin if you're looking for plus money legs there, and then have a side sprinkle on round 3 because again, I think she's round 1 or bust. And if there's legs to what Hey Jive's saying, and I looked at her Instagram too, not a lot of training footage posted, more promotional footage, then yeah, we don't know what kind of condition she's coming into this one. So she could really fall apart if she doesn't get her arm bar in round 1.
This just shows me like she's coming in here to lose, man. Like the UFC wants to get rid of her at this point.
Yeah.
And, I mean, the only bad part about Fernandez is like her takedown defense isn't very good. And let's just say she follows Stoliarenko to the ground. Armbar from guard is just hanging out there. Like it gives me flashbacks to Pooja Tomar, Shauna Bannon. Drops her, goes into the guard, armbar from guard, and then it's over. That was one of the worst ways to lose a bet. Was that one? It's like, dude, Shauna Bannon sucks. She sucks. And Pooja Tomar just slaps her in the face with a head kick, drops her.
Yep.
Like, don't go to the ground. Don't go to the ground. She's laying in her guard. I'm like, this is coming. It's I can see the future right now. It's armbar from guard. And I could see the same thing here, but I just trust, Fernandez with those big pipey arms, man. I think she could pull them out. I think she could probably pull them out and be safe. The under 2.5 was shocking to me to see that it was at minus 175 because I mean, it's women's MMA. I mean, how often do we get a under 2.5 that's minus 175? But they're onto it, man. I think Fernandez probably does get the finish here. I like the 2-3 angle that you were talking about. I'll probably take a look at that. Hopefully we get like plus 400 on that 2-3 combo. Thing once they open it on the other books. But yeah, that's kind of the way that I'm looking at it right now. I'm not going to parlay minus 400 for Fernandez. Honestly, a lot of people talk about the plus 3.5s. I've been kind of looking more towards the minus 3.5s. And, like it's basically you just buying down a little bit on the money line. And Stanko's not a round winner. Like she doesn't win minutes. So I don't really see a way that she's going to win minutes in this fight to win a round. So she's either going to lose, she's either going to armbar her, or she's going to lose a 30-27 decision, or she's going to get finished. So you buy the minus 400 to minus 275. I think it's a little bit better,
Yeah. I mean, the common thread you want to look for, whether you're playing either of those on points handicaps, is durability. Obviously, you want a fighter that doesn't get finished, but it's the same worry, but it's a cheaper price. The same worry being what you said, that submission upside, right? And again, folks, we're in the smaller octagon as well, which usually is beneficial for grapplers. I'll hit you, with some Apex records as they become more relevant. But as far as southpaw records go, Stoliarenko is technically 1-0 against southpaws, but that come against Chelsea Chandler, where Chelsea Chandler was essentially on her feet for a grand total of 13 seconds before she was just taken down and grounded out. And that's not a very high level fighter, obviously. So I don't know if those takedowns will work. But again, if she does get taken down and she's not getting submitted and you're a live better, I would look at the Gabriel Fernandez live line if you think she can survive it and you want to hit that live market before the books make their corrections on it when she gets back to her feet or the round ends. So there could be live betting opportunities, but again, she's so do or die and so fast with Stoliarenko's up to downside that you might not have a live opportunity to get in. So
she'd probably have that armbar and you go to place it and then she's out and then it swings a little bit. But let's get into the next one.
Yep.
Uros Medic taking on Gilbert Urbina. I'm going to let you take the reins on this one to start us off. What do you think?
Yeah, well, we got another southpaw in Medic, who I don't know how he made 155, dude. He's big. Like even when he, when he stacks up against these guys, he looks big. I know he's been able to be taxed when he's on the ground. I think I took, what was it, Puna? I got a dog money last time out, and you want to imagine that he learned from those things and whatnot. But against Gilbert Urbina, man, Gilbert Urbina's got some heart. I really liked his finish over Ryan Koski. As far as it was just really, I just did not see that coming.
It was terrible. That fight was awful.
It was so awful. I know. It was. That's why I'm laughing as I say it, because it was so goofy. And I'm just trying to be nice, because basically what we got here, and there's a lot of these on here. Hey Jive, it's what guys I respect on the internet call enhancement talent. And I see Gilbert Urbina as enhancement talent in this spot, man. And I think the matchmakers are seeing his last fight with Charlie Ratke, and perhaps let's get some action. We got to fill our schedule anyways. And Uros Medic is a guy, who they've tried to, promote in spots before, coming off of Contenders, I believe. So, yeah, man, I'm going to take Medic in this spot. It's just he's so juiced, and I'm thinking what basically the books have lined as far as Medic and Medic early, which is obvious because you start getting into round 3, even in a fight like this where it's like he's not against some game over grappler or anything like that. But if you're a Medic ticket holder and you're getting into the later rounds, something arguably has went wrong and you're sweating probably, right? So
yeah,
I honestly think it's Medic early, which I know is not like a super surprise here, but that's where I'm leaning. Hey, Jive.
Yeah, I think the same way. The only thing is dude, he's minus 450, and if you're minus 450, I need to know, for one, that you can stuff takedowns and do it for 15 minutes. And I need to know that you can take a punch. And Medic ain't either of those. Okay. Like, he's getting dropped by Matthew Semmelsberger a couple times. He's getting put out cold against Soriano. And he's getting grappled up in multiple fights. So, I mean, I don't really think Medic should be minus 450 here. But then I look at the other side. I'm like, what can I say about Urbina, man? Like, I think he has a decent game of like wearing on you and kind of out cardioing you, and he's big for the weight class. He was a 185er, 170. He's pretty tall, long, and I think he can be physical, but like his only win is a Ryan Kostia, and that fight was just terrible, man. Like, I think Urbina probably does get smoked here, but if it makes it out of the first round, I think something's probably not going well for Medic. Like, I don't really think Urbina is going to be I don't think he's going to make it past round one if they're just striking for 5 minutes. Like, I think Medic probably knocks him out clean. So if it gets into round two, then it gets a little bit dicey. That probably means Urbina is getting some cage push going, maybe getting a takedown or two. And I think that's his game. So it's kind of a binary fight where I think it goes one way or the other. And what's Urbina by points is plus 1100. See, I don't even know if it makes it to a decision at that point.
Yeah, he's from what I've seen from Urbina, and his record will tell you that. But you look at him, he's too aggressive for me to see. Like, even if like Medic came in here and it's one of those bounce back spots where I was like, okay, I'm going to fight safe, I'm going to get the win, right? And a lot of those times, that's when you want to be contrarian and attack those overs, right? When it's like two guys coming off of a bad loss like this. But you just look at like how they both fight, and it's just like, dude, even if one of them come in with that mindset. It doesn't matter. You need both of them coming in with that mindset. Otherwise, one of them is just going to offset the other. He's going to bring that dog out of them, and then they're going to have it settled. And I hate unders, man. I'm like an anti-under guy, which is like not normal for MMA bettors because MMA bettors love unders. But I especially hate under 1.5s. But dude, I feel like the under 1.5 is. I'm actually surprised it's not a little higher, even though minus 155 is like not the greatest number. Around minus 150 is playable straight chalk for me. Not saying for you guys, but for me, as far as straight play on chalk goes, it's in my range, but I don't know if I'd want to hit it or if it's just I want to hit it because it's the only sensible and playable thing, because the money lines, like most things, like you pointed out, Hey Driver, are out of whack for this card as far as trustworthiness goes.
I feel that. Dr. Peener in the chat.
What's up?
And Tom, how does it feel to be entering the top 5 most handsome MMA influencer list? Updated rankings. Number 1, Hey Jive. Number 2, Uncle Wheezy. Number 3, BP Big Gun. Number 4, Brady. His voice, not his face. And number 5, Dan Tom. Top 5. How does it feel?
I mean, those are just some great names. I'm like, it could have been, I don't know, as long as it wasn't like top 5 sex predators or something. Like, you could have put me with those names and I would have been stoked, but it's for that. I'll take it, man. I'm not at my best, but I'll take the compliment. I'll try to be better about that. Thank you, Dr. Peener.
What a compliment. Dr. Peener, always giving him out on here. I mean, that fight, honestly, might just be a pass for me. I don't think I need to spread my money on that one. But this one might get a little bit interesting. All right. We got Edwards and the zombie girl, Priscilla Cachoeira, coming in here off the big knockout last time at the Apex. Little uppercut, shut off the lights for the Gremlin, Josiane Nunes. Jocelyn Edwards coming off of the big knockout as well for the big girl, Chelsea Chandler. And I think that was on a pay-per-view card, or at least on the prelims of a pay-per-view card. So they threw her back into the Apex. They're like, all right, knocking out Chelsea Chandler. It's cool and all. But, Jocelyn, we got to throw you back at the Apex, which is probably good for her because I believe she lives in Vegas now, or at least trains in Vegas. I think she's been training in Extreme Couture.
Yep, she has been, yep.
Yeah, I think she's been making a lot of improvements, man. I never really thought Jocelyn Edwards would be much in the UFC. I remember fading her against Lucy Pudilova, and I was there in attendance, and I'm like, dude, Lucy Pudilova won that fight. Like, there's no fucking way Jocelyn won that fight. And then in her next one, she fights Nora Cornoli. And I'm like, you know what? I think Jocelyn could beat Nora Cornoli. Cornoli sucks, dude. I'm watching her tape. I'm like, she's not good. And I think she got robbed in that fight. I thought Jocelyn Edwards should have won. So then she moves on, and she keeps improving. She took a tough loss to Eileen Perez, but Eileen Perez is doing some good things. And she faces Tamiris Vidal. And she gets a big step down in competition, gets the round 3 sub, dominates her. Then Chelsea Chandler. So I think she's, coming along as a fighter. I never thought she'd be much. Cachoeira, we know the deal. All right, this girl can't grapple. She has, I don't want to say she has bad takedown defense because her hips are pretty strong. But once she hits that ground, she don't got much of a get-up game. So this one tells me like Jocelyn Edwards should be wrestling here, but can I trust her to do it? She's shown me it in her past few fights, but I don't know if I can really trust her to do it because at her base, she is a striker. She's moving towards that wrestling base now, but it's not like some Jasmine Jazz Davicius wrestling. It's not Miranda Maverick wrestling,
right.
So, I mean, I don't think Jocelyn Edwards has a clear path to go get this fight on the ground and dominate it, but I do think it's a path that can help her win. And right now the odds are, Jocelyn Edwards minus 300. So, I mean, the books are giving her a pretty good shot to win this one. And I've never been super high in Cachoeira, but there's one thing about her. She will fight for your money. All right. You're going to put money on Priscilla Cachoeira. She will fight for it. She will eye poke. She will cheat. She will do whatever she needs to do. All right. We're talking about an ex-drug addict here. All right. She's done worse things in her life than poke girls in the eyes. All right. So she will fight for your money. Is she going to get any money from you this week?
She has before, and I usually haven't regretted it. I've been pretty good about picking my Cachoeira spots. I haven't been on all of them, but if I haven't been on it bet-wise, it's the kind of fighter where, like, maybe I'll pick her officially, but, like, I'm in, like, pick contests, like Tout Master, where you get more points for picking the dog. And in that case, this is like a Tout Master dog pick, I like to say, or it's a classic dog or pass, with the money line, which I don't hate anybody with that opinion. Now, this reminds me almost of the Pietro Rodriguez fight where it's like last week's like, do we have a live underdog? And as far as me, I've been training at Extreme Couture since the second year it opened. So I have ties and an admitted bias. Does that mean I always pick the Extreme Couture fighters? No, not at all. That being said, when I do pick them, it's hard to bump my chest because it looks like it's biased. Oh, you're going to pick them anyways. And am I doing that here because Jocelyn Edwards, to your point, she's been training for a few camps now. Not so much with Eric Nixick. You won't see her in her corner. She's more of a Nate Pettit guy who works with like Tatiana Suarez, Patchy Mix, other Extreme Couture fighters from there.
We don't want to do that recently.
Yeah. Just saying what it is, right? But she trains with but what I do like though, and what I was saying about Piero Rodriguez last week, is I like it when the girls train with a stable of girls, right? Now, not all the time that, we've seen, non-big stable of women fighters, and like Zhang Wei Li, and granted she's got really good training camps that are like directed around her and she travels and does all this leg work. But you don't need to have like the American Top Team Super Camp, or which was like back in the day with Ioana and Jacek and Amanda Nunes when they were all under one roof. That was like the women's super camp, right? Extreme Couture has actually got a really strong group of girls, from regional girls who were in the UFC, from like Sabina Matzo to, Piera Rodriguez on the lower level. We just mentioned former title challengers, Tatiana Suarez. So there's a healthy room, and that's probably why she's showing these improvements that Hey Drive was citing, right? And I agree that she doesn't have that level of wrestling, Hey Drive, but I think that the odds are also swaying to her because of the fighting terrain. Again, back to the smaller cage, right? Does it mean I'm going to pick the superior wrestler or submission grappler every time? No, but it generally favors those fighters because the smaller terrain is going to force that kind of action. You're going to be able to push into the clenches easier. And I think we're going to see a lot of clench stalling if she can't get the takedowns. And it's going to be, really boring and inactive, where it could be like a greasy split where it's like, are they judges going to go off of, Priscilla Cachoeira's big moments or Edwards' control? That being said, because the small cage forces action, and because the lines are so bad again, I'm like, it's like when you're in a room full of sixes, right? Hey, Drive, a 3 starts to look like an 8, here. you get a little thrown off, especially when it's at night, you've been drinking. Anyways, I'm looking at the under here. And again, I hate unders, but it's around plus 150 for the under 2.5. And, both of these girls are fighting at their peak right now. It's going to encourage action. I'm not sure if I'm going to jump on it. It wouldn't be something I would jump big on if I did. But as far as playable angles, like I'd probably look for something like cheeky like that. But it feels like a dog or pass spot.
Yeah, I was debating parlaying Edwards, but I wanted to, wait and kind of do my due diligence before I did, just because she's minus 300, man. Like I
Yeah.
gotta be sure. But I was also kind of thinking the same way you were, but I want to wait until I could get like a fight doesn't go. If it's plus money, assuming it's going to be plus money. If the under 2.5 is plus 150, because I mean, Cachoeira, she will take a beating on the ground. So I don't
Yeah.
know if it might come, the last 2.5 minutes. I think those could be some real important 2.5 minutes. You look at Edwards' submission at the Apex against Vidal came with like 30 seconds left or something like that. And Cachoeira, I believe, has been finished a couple times past the 2.5 mark. So, I mean, that's kind of the way I'm looking at it too. Fight doesn't go. Cachoeira is going to be throwing big bombs. Jocelyn doesn't have, bad power either. And Cachoeira's face swells up real quickly. And then I think, if the fight hits the ground, Edwards is improving her ground game. Maybe she should get that submission. I just don't know if it's going to be super easy. It's going to have to be a lot of ground and pound. It's going to have to be a lot of working her, tiring her out type of stuff. But no props out, so can't really talk too much about that. But that's kind of the way I was looking on that one. Jocelyn is interesting, man. I don't really know if she's good or not, or if she's just facing Tamiris Vidal or Chelsea Chandler. Those are some pretty bad fighters at that weight class. And the Chandler KO was, I kind of have a question mark by it because she was a girl that's like should be at 145. Like she's big, and she had to cut down. So I mean, I don't think it wasn't like some big massive shot. Like I think the weight cut might have played a factor into that. But we'll see.
Yeah, it's tough. The finishing upside's more on her, and she's never been finished by knockout, and that's Cachoeira's win condition. But Edwards has been hurt. Granted, it's more to the body I've seen her hurt, but she has been hurt by strikes in fights before, even though she's never been stopped. But yeah, it's tough to say.
Thoughts on Edwards' big old booty?
It is very big in person. It's bigger in person because you usually see her off camp.
It is large, man. It is large. And for some reason, it's always coming out of those shorts when she fights. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's struggling.
It is struggling to stay in there. We'll move on to the next one. Elijah Smith taking on Toshiomi Kazama. It's another matchup where UFC wants to get rid of Kazama. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Elijah Smith, they give him Vince Morales in his first UFC fight. I'm like, dude, I think Vince could beat him, dude. Vince is like super experienced, good grappler, not an amazing striker, but a serviceable striker, good cardio. And Elijah Smith beat him, man. Like I thought it was a close fight, but I thought Elijah Smith won. And now they give him Toshiomi Kazama. I'm like, dude, this is a huge step down from Vince Morales. Granted, there is a big danger, in round one from Kazama. He's a wrestler, jiu-jitsu guy, mainly just jiu-jitsu. I don't really think his wrestling is that great. But he's going to go in there, sprint across the cage, look to take you down, look to get you out of there quick. But on the feet, this guy is a sitting duck. Like, just doesn't see anything coming.
Yeah.
I think it's probably going to be Elijah Smith. Right hand down the pipe. Boom, down goes Kazama. Stop the fight, ref. It's over. And Elijah Smith is showing that on the betting odds. He's like minus 800 now. So, I mean, it's another huge line on the card. Any insight on this one?
So, yeah, it's interesting. Like, you look at Kazama's win conditions, and I think they get shut down by a lot of Smith's strengths. He's got good as far as the grappling goes, and my clinch notes on him, he's got really good counter clinch, really good counter grappling. And even though we've seen him tire in fights, like you go to his Contender Series fight, like even though he won, he was tiring if you're looking for criticisms instead to be critical. But again, context matters. And I like to use the Tapology. Sometimes it'll elicit, sometimes it won't, but you'll see if a matchup got rebooked or whatever. And the context is that he was fighting there on short notice, and he's big for the weight class. So you got to cut him some slack there. And in the Vince Morales fight, again, spot on analysis, it's a much closer fight than meets the eye. And I remember making that argument for Vince Morales as a dog, which he's always a dog, and he's always a live dog, and always really tough assignments. So it's really it could be really easy to write that win off, even though you shouldn't, because that was actually a big step up, like you said, Hey Jive. But yeah, because I agree with what you said, that actually, when looking at it from this side of this perspective, now we're looking at Elijah Smith. That was a bigger test than people realize. And regardless of how you score that fight, he passed that test, gained that experience. And this is another, and I hate to say it, I'm stoked that we're getting much more Asian talent. That's awesome. And as much as I want to get behind these fighters, Kazama is, again, what we would call enhancement talent. He was even enhancement talent for like the other road to UFC guys. You know what I'm saying? Like, and now we're putting him against like these legit American prospects here, like Smith. So I like Smith in this spot. How I like it, I'm curious. I'm looking at, I don't like to do the mistake that, hey, Jive, where it's on cards like this, it's easy to do. We're like minus 500, minus 600, minus 300. Oh, that must mean they're going to finish. That must means if I want a discount on the line, I need to go inside the distance. You can get yourself into trouble with that logic because a big money line, minus 700 in this case, doesn't always imply the finish. That being said, yeah, I do think he gets the finish here. And so do they with a minus 275, so even in round 2, you're having to get like plus 280. That's it. That's all they're giving you. Yeah. They've kind of nerfed this, to be honest. So, it doesn't make me too excited for laying too heavy. I feel like they've stocked the castle walls high in order for us not to climb it too much.
Yeah. I mean, I win condition, Kazama round 1 sub plus 2,000. Like that's his win condition, like that's how he wins.
Yeah.
That's kind of nuts, but.
And that's how prospects loses, those prospect losses, right? Like McGregor or other guys, you look early in their career, there's always that sub loss, they got early in their career. Max Holloway had that early sub loss, that they call it the prospect loss, right? So if you are fishing for upsets like that, yeah, you could do worse with a plus 2,800.
Yeah. Just like a few months ago, Josiah Musasa losing to Carlos Vera.
Yeah. Yep.
Round 1.
Exactly. Yep. That was a perfect prospect loss right there.
Exactly. I mean, Elijah Smith is super green, man. He's 22. Like,
yes,
this is where a prospect could fumble the bag. So I'm not going to be laying the price. I could tell you that, but I do think the under 1.5 looks pretty good to me. Like, I think Kazama's the way he fights, like he is so hittable. Elijah Smith, very athletic, very explosive. He lands one shot on him and hurts him. Like, I think the fight's over. And if Kazama gets to his back or gets to a weird position that Elijah Smith hasn't been in, like this dude was a football player. He wasn't like a mixed martial artist growing up. He just started MMA like when he was done with college. So, I mean, I don't think this guy's been, on the jiu-jitsu mats for years at a time. Like he's probably still learning jiu-jitsu. I mean, he fought off a good amount of submissions from Morales, but he did put himself in those positions. And like those positions are dangerous to be in any fight, any fight that you're in that position, it could be over. So I like the under 1.5 more than anything.
Dude, I do too. It's better price. I like that better than the Urbina minus 155, 1.5.
I do too. I think, this is bantamweight dumps. It's a little bit tougher, but still, it's just the way that Kazama fights. It's like,
hey, bantamweight for a minute there, between like 2019 to 2023 or something. I don't know if they've continued to, but they've had higher finish rates than featherweights and been right up there with even lightweight division. Like bantamweight's been a low key puncher knockout division, or finish division.
It's music to my ears then. If I got that under. We're at 33 likes, ladies and gentlemen. We're at 33 likes. We got to run up the like count before we get to the end of these fights, before we're going to give away a long shot lay. But here we go. Another. We're just talking about Elijah Smith, green, minus 700. Julius Walker, same position, not a football player, a basketball player, comes over to the MMA world, goes in there with Alonzo Metafield, his first fight, gives a great showing of himself. Wasn't supposed to win that fight. Arguably could have won. I don't think he won, but arguably could have won. I watch him fight. I'm like, dude, this guy's striking is robotic. I'm not really a fan of it, but he is tall. He's physical, got some decent, skills for being that green in MMA. And he steps in here minus 600. Now, Rafael Cerqueira. It's really embarrassing for me to admit this, but I put US dollar on him.
It's okay, man.
Not just one fight. In both of his UFC fights. Both of his UFC fights. I don't know what I was on that day. I saw something in this guy. I'm like, yeah, this guy could be something. Gets knocked out by Ibo Aslan. Next fight, he's plus 300 to Modestas Bukauskas. I'm like, I do not think Bukauskas is a good fighter. If Cerqueira has anything, he can make this a fight. What does he do? Gets knocked out in a minute and 30 seconds. So I'm not doing it again. I know the line is wide. I'm not doing it again. I just can't do it. So, I mean, it's not going to be Cerqueira, but it's not going to be Walker at minus 600. So this might just be a complete stay away, unless you could talk me into something. What do you think?
Dude, so this is where, and it still applies because it's one of the wider numbers next to points because I think it's going to be a finish, which obviously it should be. Walker was a guy I threw a crafty submission flyer on in the Menafield fight, and he didn't come super close to anything, but there were opportunities there. There was a lot of grappling, and he is a deceptively big guy, right? Like some people are like, they look small, but they're like Roman Kopylov. He looks like he should be smaller than he is. Maybe he's got that Chase Hooper look, so you like think he should be like a scrawny guy, but he's actually like a good sized middleweight. And I've done some shows with Anthony Smith, and the last time he had me on his show, we were talking off air about Julius Walker because he trained with him over there with the Colorado crew of guys. You know, the Cody Brundages, you got the Dustin Jacobys, all those dudes, and Julius Walker, not just active on Twitter, but he's actually been cross training. And he's been impressing the people that I've been talking to and the real pros. And what Smith told me, as far as notable names go, is just that he was much, much bigger, much stronger than he realized and could see a bright future for him, kind of a deal. And Anthony's a nice guy and all, but it just didn't seem like he would like throw that out casually, so to speak, And we weren't on air, so he wasn't saying it to be nice or anything like that. But yeah, I've heard from other people who work with him too, good things. So I definitely like Julius Walker. I never been high on Rafael Cerqueira, and I didn't pick him last time. But I'll tell you what, like, and I'm not like the highest on Mendes Bukauskas either, right? So like, you weren't alone. I saw a lot of people taking that dog shot. But what was surprising was not so much that Cerqueira lost, is that he just lost and crumbled that fast, right? Backed up to the cage, just
Same
like
way
a deer in headlights.
Same way he did against Ebo. I was like, dude,
yeah,
wow. Like,
and that's the exact reaction you don't want if you're looking for submissions, because that's like, hey, come tee off on me. Come have your Chuck Tito 2 highlight moment. Come have your, just put a bunch of numbers on me. And that's going to kill the submission prop, which I think they know that, and they've got it almost 2-1 for Julius Walker by knockout. But part of me still might put a cheeky submission flyer if I need a leg for round robins.
Yeah.
But yeah, the under's chalked up at minus at 1.5, so we don't really have that option that we were taking or looking at in these last couple of fights. So yeah, you got to get cheeky with it, man, and maybe play the rounds, which even round 2 plus 325, you could put plus 500 there, and I'm not sure. It doesn't matter. I'm not sure Rafael Cerqueira gets to round 2.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it's like, I can't even trust him to last a minute, dude. Like at this point, if he gets hit with one shot, he's just covering up. So,
chalk on round 1 minus 130, and that they, give the enhancement talent their walking papers to clear room for Contender Series. Like what you said off the top, this is a perfect example of that, right? So,
yeah, I mean, they definitely don't want Cerqueira around. The dude literally is just there for highlights.
Yep.
I guess maybe they do want him around for that, but probably not willing to pay $12K for another highlight reel, So yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna give you much on that one, boys. I mean, I wouldn't even play Walker round 1 at minus 130, because who's to say the guy doesn't just clinch up with him? I mean, he's kind of a clinch guy. He kind of wants to like get inside and kind of bowl you in the clinch a little bit. So yeah, I mean, if you're not gonna make Cerqueira uncomfortable with a punch, and I don't even think Walker's that great of a puncher. Like, he's very weird in the way that he strikes. So
he's still developing.
Yeah, he's still developing, but I mean, he's very athletic, good frame. So I think he could do well. It's just, I think he's super green. He's got a lot way to go before he can, beat some of these guys in the top 15 for sure.
Subber pass, man. Subber pass.
Subber pass. I guess there's a leg for you.
There we go.
With these chats before we get into the main card, Cerqueira points. Imagine Cerqueira points. I mean, the way that the dude fights, like from the small film that you can watch on him before the UFC, like I thought he was a decent striker. Like he's moving pretty well. Obviously, they were poor competition, but he is not a nail. I can tell you that. Kopylov is in fact not a welterweight. Yeah, he's not a welterweight. He's a middleweight. No shit. His body type is. Did you guys see the video of Tito opening a container inversely? I think he may have the first case of double CTE. That's crazy. Sergio in the chat. What's up, Hey Joe? I seen you hit a cycle parlay. We did. Hopefully we can go back to back. Let me know in the chat if you guys want another cycle parlay this week. I'll try to put one together. 49 likes. We need some more likes before we get to the main event. We'll start with the first fight on the main card. Eric, your boy, stepping in here against CLD. I don't know if you've heard, is this Eric Anders' retirement fight? I've heard that a little bit throughout the community, but can you confirm or deny?
I wouldn't be surprised, man. I feel like it's been coming for a while. Eric Anders seems like a great guy, by the way. I interviewed him earlier on in his career, but I feel like, and I don't take any pleasure saying this, but I feel like I came around to his skill ceiling a lot closer than the odds makers and the Gen Pop did. And, I don't know if it was the whole football thing that we do in MMA where we're like, because we love, especially in this country, we love football and stuff. And I think a lot of that bleeds over. And kind of, we get like this great white hope thing with like, oh, this football player's coming over. He's going to do big things. And it never quite pans out. Like Brendan Schaub is honestly the best in that category when you think about it still. Like that's never really panned out in that category, super strongly. And unfortunately, that's been the case with Anders. And a lot of the times you just get, a couple hard punches. And even if he hurts the guy, he has a bad habit of clenching or, ruining in his work with like illegal strikes with that, what was that Darren Stewart rematch and whatnot. And, and as we see with judges, and I know a lot of people were upset with that split decision he lost to Park, which I thought was correctly scored based off the criteria. But yeah, the judges are instructed, to not award that. They've been leaning toward that since 2019, and they're only going to be leaning more into damage further as current ABC rules are being adjudicated as we speak, actually this week, folks, over in Louisiana. But yeah, so yeah, these are the rules that kind of serve. And with Christian Leroy Duncan, he's getting the prospect hype because, he comes from the Cage Warriors European scene. And a lot of those guys, they support their own, right? Like you see the media, like they get like really like they're kind of bad about showing their bias over there, right? You see it with the bookmakers. Like you hear this in boxing, Hey Jive, like England backs their fighters at the betting windows. That's something you can always count on in boxing. And we've seen that too in the UFC, with Conor McGregor or guys like Darren Till, where if you were someone who was fading Darren Till, you got a lot of good numbers against Darren Till because England tends to back their people at the betting window. And Christian Leroy Duncan's kind of got those waves behind him, but it's a lot of shout out to the heavy hands guys, a lot of like leaf blower offense. Like it looks great. It looks really like fancy, creates like a mess of things. But as far as like damaging shots, effective process to one punch knockouts, he's really not hitting on either of those spectrums, right? He's still figuring him. I don't want to say he lacks depth because he's still figuring himself out, but he's not a process guy or a one punch guy in the thick of things. He's a very well-rounded fighter. He's athletic. He's got a great frame. I get why people are excited about him, but he's not a finished product or a product that I can think reliably finishes. So I say all this to say is that one of my favorite parlay legs is the over in this fight. I don't know if it's still sitting at minus 170 or so. But I feel like, if you're a big chalk player, even, shoot, where's it at right now?
Minus 170.
170. Okay. Yeah. Still there. Yeah. That's one of the better parlay legs I like. Like I'm going to attach that to whatever I feel strongest on this card. As far as my plan of attack goes.
Yeah. So Dan from Half the Battle did confirm last fight on the contract retirement fight confirmed.
Dan Levy.
That's shout out to Dan. That is, I don't really think he's just going to mail it in. Yeah. I don't think he's just going to come in here and lie down to the first shot that CLD lands. So, I mean, I'm not really going to play that into the factor of him getting finished, but I mean, I think the best thing we've seen from CLD is like his clinch work, like his ability to bully you in the clinch and land some big elbows and cut you open there. But it's against like a Barrow and Dennis Talulin. So I'm not really sold on a CLD finish. Like when I saw it, I'm like, I think CLD is going to be way faster. I think Eric Anders is going to be a little bit stuck in the mud. He's getting dropped by Jamie Pickett. He's getting dropped by Chris Weidman, Marc-Andre Barrios, all in round one. Like, you're getting dropped by Jamie Pickett. Like, we got some problems here. But he still managed to win 2 of those fights. Or actually, yeah, he won 2 of those fights. So, I mean, I don't really think he's out of this fight completely, but I just don't really see how he wins a lot of minutes outside of holding him up against the cage. Maybe he can get a takedown or 2, but when he gets those takedowns, I don't really think he does that much. I think CLD will probably have better cardio, better pace. So I think CLD wins. It's just a question, like, does he finish or not? And it kind of depends, like, what CLD do we get that night? Do we get a guy that wants to finish? Is he hunting the finish or not? So, I mean, it's tough, man. I think I would lean towards it going to a decision at minus 150, but I don't.
It would also probably have to come in the strikes, because I was thinking about this earlier. They're both underrated enough in the I think they're both to different degrees underrated grapplers, right? So in other words, they're good enough to not get finished, but they're not good enough grapplers where I think they're going to reliably get a finish, even if they were facing a lesser level of grappler. So if there's anything that I am semi-confident saying, is I don't think there'll be a sub. Watch, there'll be a sub, like off of a club and sub now. But yeah, unless Anders like collapses, he just doesn't want to be there. Like I just see them going back and forth in the clinch, with CLD having the more strikes, volume, optics, and damage at the end of the 3 rounds.
It could maybe be a buy low on CLD to get a finish too, because he just went against Pulaev, and people were probably all over him to get a finish there as a huge favorite again. And now he's taking on Eric Anders, who's been dropped multiple times in his last 3 fights. So, I mean, it could be a buy low spot on Eric Anders to get a finish, or CLD to get a finish, not Eric Anders. Maybe Eric Anders could, but I doubt it. So what's inside the distance? Where are we here? Win inside the distance, plus 135. Yeah, it's not too bad, but I think it'd probably come like mid-round, like round 2 or something like that. It's either going to be a flash knockout round. Yeah, it's either going to be a flash knockout early, or it's going to be just him beating him up, and maybe Eric Anders gasses out a little bit. So, I mean, it's a tough one to call, man. It's a very tough one to call. I'm going to lean towards CLD getting the finish, because I think it's a bit of a buy low, but I wouldn't have a ton of confidence in it at the moment.
All right.
What the chats? I knew I saw, Olajuwon in the chat. Shout out to Olajuwon, always in the chat as well. Gilbert Durinho, Brazil. I don't think that's the real Durinho. Could be. If it is, please show yourself, Durinho. CLD by decision, he says. The real Gilbert? Is it the real Gilbert? Someone's going to have to fact check that.
Well, the real Durinho, please stand up.
Please stand up. Somebody have to fact check that if that's the real Gilbert. All right, we'll get into the next one. It's an interesting one. Miles Johns coming in here against Gene. I always say Jean just because Jean Silva, but it's Gene, I believe. Matsumoto coming off the loss against Rob Font in a fight that he took on short notice. I believe it was up a weight class too, wasn't it? 145?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, it was at 145, up a weight class, short notice, and he takes his first L. Miles Johns coming off the loss to Felipe Lima back in December, where he pretty much, I don't want to say he got outclassed, but I thought he clearly lost. And so, I mean, both guys coming off losses. I don't really think this is a matchup where, if Miles John loses, he's going to get cut. But I would wonder where he's at on his contract, because I don't really think he's like, I doubt that he's in the good graces with the UFC. I mean, his fights really aren't that exciting. I mean, if Martin Buday is getting cut at 7-1, I mean, like, Miles John's fights have been pretty dang boring, man. Like, he's been fighting at the Apex against Cody Gibson, against Douglas Silva de Andrade, and it's been like watching paint dry. So, I mean, this could possibly be, a spot where Miles Johns has his back up against the wall, needing to put on a good performance or maybe just get a win. We'll see. But Gene Matsumoto, I always result to Jean now. Gene Matsumoto, I mean, I think the kid is really good. I think he's, got some really solid striking. I think his jiu-jitsu is really solid. But, when he went to a very close decision with Brad Katona, I thought this dude's we gotta, pump the horses a little bit. Like, we gotta chill out. I don't really think this guy's gonna be some amazing killer. Had a good argument to win the fight against Rob Font, but that's Rob Font. Rob Font ain't some amazing fighter nowadays. So, Matsumoto's sitting near minus 300, near minus 300, minus 275, somewhere around there. I mean, I don't really think Miles Johns is like the easiest test for a lot of people because he's a physical guy. A lot of times guys just don't even want to strike with him. Like, they get in there, they feel him, they feel his shots or whatever, and they just don't really want to strike with him. So this is going to be an interesting one. Like, what do you think on this one?
Dude, so this one has another like close split decision written all over it from the last fight. And I mean, I don't even know if I want to pat myself on the back too much, even though I took Rob Font and cashed on that. And I think I even had him by decision in a round robin. So I'm pretty sure that one really went my way. Whereas Miles Johns, I've never been a big fan of his, but I almost cashed on his last fight. I can't remember what I had. I had Woodson KO, which came through. It wasn't like a traditional cycle, but it was like a KO, like a decision prop. And the last one to hit was Felipe Lima round 3, which was a big number. And he almost like had him at the end with the rear naked choke. And I was like, and there's been plenty of times where I've been trying to fade Miles Johns around round 3 as well, both early and late in his career. It looks like he fixed his cardio for a minute, and he actually got some round 3 finishes. And it's almost like he knew it. And he's like, stop making me the underdog. I fixed my cardio. I fixed this. And he actually was, making certain improvements, but certain things are just like we talked about Cody Brundage, like certain things are just there. They're in your DNA, And that being said, is John Matsumoto a building type of fighter, an experienced type of fighter, a Rob Font type outfit type of fighter? Like, no, we saw that. And in the small cage, especially we see Matsumoto try to, or when he's uncomfortable. And again, the small cage also encourages it, but encourage grappling action, right? And Miles Johns, like, we just talked about, a guy like Felipe Lima getting to his back, but like, is John Matsumoto going to show lights out wrestling or jiu-jitsu that we can reliably count for him to get to this wrestler's back? And Miles Johns, like, I'm not sure. So we're probably getting a competitive back and forth striking mixed with some takedowns, pushes against the clenched, reversals, right? They're good enough to scramble. So whoever gets the edge, they'll be short and sweet grappling, but just back and forth action on the feet. And we're depending on these judges at the end of the day. And man, I'm not a big fan of Miles Johns, and I do like Matsumoto, even though I picked against him and cashed against him. But I'm actually leaning toward Miles Johns in this spot, man. I still want to watch a little more tape. I want to reserve my right on this one, not to cop out. But dude, this feels like, even if you do end up picking John Matsumoto, this feels like that classic, pardon the self-plug and pun there, but it's classic dog or pass spot. And if I want looking for big numbers, I want to look at Miles Johns, not just by points, but Miles Johns by split decision, or maybe you put like this fight goes to split decision in a round robin, especially if you take the shot on Johns. Like if I take a shot on a dog or, a favorite even, and the chance to lose the bet is in a tight decision, I like to throw that split prop in the round robin. That way, maybe I can hopefully score both with a sweat, or if I lose hopefully by a split decision, and I still cash there. But those are like the crazy props I look for in this fight.
We got the real Gilbert Dorino Burns in the chat on the Brazilian,
the fucking man.
We got Gilbert Burns in the chat, ladies and gentlemen.
Holy shit!
Man, the myth, the legend. I got his poster right over there from when we watched him at the Apex. Sad times, but shout out to Gilbert Dorino in the chat. We need some likes for my man.
He's got a great YouTube channel too, by the way. I subscribe. Yeah. I love his YouTube channel. I love Gilbert's vlogs.
English and Brazil. Shout out to Gil. Hey, Jive. Oh, Dixon Cider's in the chat.
Dixon Cider.
Where's Canada Express? How disappointed I am that you haven't asked where I am. Like a shitty parent. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. Hey, Dixon, I knew you'd show up eventually, all right?
I'm happy to see you, Dixon Cider.
It's like I let the dog outside and you just running around. Like, I know you'll come back eventually. I know you'll show up. Shout out to Dixon. Always in the chat. Glad to have you here. Yo, hey, Job. How's it going, brother? Can you give my boy... I don't know who... that's probably going to be something weird to say. I'm not going to say it. I'm not even going to try to say it. He's a subscriber and watches all your predictions. I'm not sure what that's supposed to mean, but shout out to your boy. Gene Matsumoto, easy, says Gilbert. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be easy, Gil. I don't know if it's going to be easy, but I think he should be the favorite for sure. I don't know if he's going to run away with it. I could see, if he is that good, I could see him finishing him late. I could see Matsumoto round 2 or 3 if he is just going to go in there and dog out Miles Johns. And those odds are pretty nice, dude. Those odds are pretty dang nice. I mean, Matsumoto round 2, I saw it on another book. It was like 10-1. Matsumoto round 3 was like 16-1. So, I mean, those might get a little sprinkle from me. But ultimately, I think it's probably a Matsumoto decision. Could be close. Miles Johns stinks. Timu Burns got out the gill.
Hey, what about? I know you're looking at those finish props, but it's tough. He's only been knocked out once and submitted once via arm triangle. If he, I'm looking at the reason why I asked that is because the 3.5 point spread for Miles Johns is plus 100. You think he can win one round at a fight that's probably going to decision?
I'm not taking the 3.5. I think I'm done with the 3.5.
Yeah,
I'm just not sold on it. I just don't think it's worth it, man. Because at the end of the day, if they don't get a finish, then your bet's in the hands of the judges. And they're just going to throw a rogue 30-27 out there. They're just going to. Sal's going to be like, okay, how much money we got on this plus 3.5 bet? All right, let's write a little 30-27 here to fuck everybody. So I'm not on it anymore. I mean, I've looked at it. I played it a couple times. I've hit it a couple times. Some of the times I haven't, but
yeah,
not into it, man.
See, I do this. I did this last time with Costa. I didn't have enough balls. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to pick Costa. And then I ended up picking him. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to play him, but the points handicap's plus money. That makes sense. And the more I thought about it, I'm like, shit, let me just play. And I feel like I might be doing the same thing with Miles Johns here, which is crazy because I'm not a Miles Johns fan at all, folks. So, but if you are thinking about it, that is out there. That is plus money. But again, you got to worry about him not getting finished. And with my luck, the guy who always tries to fade him in round 3 to get finished, he would get finished in round 3 the time I bet him to not get finished. So I'm not saying, run to the window, just throwing that out there.
Yeah. My thought process is like, if you think Miles Johns could win this fight, I would take his money line.
Yeah. The money line's good enough, right? Just fire it and don't think.
Because I feel like more often than not, if you play the plus 3.5, that means you think they could win the fight, right? So, I mean, essentially you're just taking a little bit of insurance for less than or more than half of the payout what his money line would be, which is plus 250.
Right.
I would rather take a smaller shot on Miles Johns' money line than to risk more on the plus 3.5, So
that's true.
Yeah. Interesting because it's like fairly new. So I mean there's gonna be different opinions about it. But hey, if you speak any Spanish, can we call him Jean Matsumoto, which in Spanish means Gene on his motorcycle? Gotta love it. You gotta love it, man. Sergio says Gilbert's heard you're fighting D-Rod next at 170. I mean, I would be down for that. I think Gil would run through him, bro. Jacob from We Want Picks
matchup.
sold you steal his picks. Said you steal his picks. Interesting. I don't know where he would get that from, but if he wants to DM me, he can. The DMs are always open, brother. Let's get to the next one because we are over an hour and 8 minutes, and we're at 54 likes. We got 3 fights left. 3 fights left. This one's gonna be Andre Fili versus Christian Rodriguez. C-Rod coming in here off the loss to Melquez Acosta, which is gonna be the same for Andre Fili, and one of them was a little bit more impressive than the other because, Andre Fili, I don't know what was going on with him, man. Like, you have your head in the guillotine, you take it out of the guillotine, and then you put it back in the guillotine. I don't understand what the thought process was there. I mean, it just blew my mind. It honestly felt like fight fixing. At that point, I'm like, dude, you had it out. Why'd you stick it back in? And then did nothing to get out of it the second time. So, yeah, weird fight for Andre Fili. But he's coming in here as the underdog, plus 200. C-Rod, around a minus 250 favorite, man. I don't know. I don't know if I'm a guy that's going to be playing C-Rod at chalk because the guy is the prospect killer, but he's facing the veterans. He's losing. And more often than not, when he is the favorite, he ain't coming through. So, I mean, I don't really believe C-Rod is a minus 250 fighter to me because especially at 145. Yeah, 135,
Yep.
a little bit different, but at 145, it's a big difference. And on the other side, I don't really know if I can trust Andre Fialho at this point after his last fight. So it's kind of a tough fight for me to be confident in either side. You know, I do think it could turn out to be Andre Fialho at plus 200 looks like an amazing bet. Or it could be C-Rod runs through him. And I don't think C-Rod's going to run through him, but I do think C-Rod's going to have opportunities to finish the fight. Like, I think C-Rod's going to have a submission attempt or two. Like, I think you look at C-Rod's record in the UFC, go through his stats. He's had so many submission attempts. He's only got one submission in the UFC against a complete bum, but he's going for a lot of these submission attempts. And I'm like, dude, if you throw all those at Andre Fialho, how could I not at least have a chance to cash that against Andre Fialho, who stuck his head into a guillotine after he took it out his last fight. So, I mean, when I'm looking at this one, oh, sorry, I wasn't even sharing that slide. When I'm looking at this one, I think C-Rod by sub or Andre Fialho money line. If I'm just looking at bets, C-Rod by sub or Andre Fialho money line. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. When you look at Andre Fialho and you look at his losses, especially his finish losses, right? Like, it's usually fighters or just losses in general. That's what I like about fighters with a good sample size. You can kind of zoom out a bit and get a little better feel for them. And it's usually fighters that can enforce their game, right? They've got some kind of stupid game over level. If, you've got, it's like they put all their fighter stats to KO power or something, kind of guys like an Andre Brito or a Yair Rodriguez, right? These crazy one punch, high flying kicks, or an insanely overwhelming process guy like Max Holloway, which was an upset actually at the time. Fialho was actually favored, and Fialho was actually known for his guillotine, despite getting guillotined in that fight. And then in his most recent fight, like a decade later that we just talked about, which was Jive, it was totally one of those. I get why people would be like, dude, is that like fight fixing at that point? Which I don't think it is. Obviously, I think it was just more one of those moments where it's just like, oh yeah, I'm fine. I've been in this a million times, but that's also how you get caught. And I totally get that. As a, especially, just anyone as a grappler, like if you have your positions you're really comfortable in, like if you're honest with yourself, there's probably, there's a lot of times you're getting caught in that too. You're like, oh, I get put in these chokes all day. Team alpha male guillotine chokes. I'm fine here. And then someone's got a guillotine. Now all of a sudden you're not respecting it because you've been fine there so many times. So it was one of those just like dough moments, and maybe we're getting like a really good line off it, or maybe the line suggests that again, Fialho is on his decline, right? I mean, he is getting older. He's got a lot of miles on him. Even his last win, you could say, was a loss. Like, I don't blame anybody, by the way, for scoring that for Cub Swanson. That being said, like, that was still, even though it was an older Cub Swanson, it's still a very talented Cub Swanson. It was a really good fight. And competitive fight, and Fialho can still have those fights. He can still put guys out. He's got underrated wrestling, which I don't think he's going to go to here, because again, it's mainly been guys like wrestling themselves into a wall at bantamweight, whereas guys who don't have that, who have the experience, who not just have the experience, but are bigger guys, and not just bigger guys because they're featherweights, they're longer and taller guys, and not just longer and taller guys than Rodriguez who are featherweights. They're actually pretty big for the weight class. Like Fialho's pretty big for the weight class, even though he's been around for a minute. He's always been a big guy for the class. So is Julian Erosa, so on and so forth, right? And I hate to make those like basic comparisons, like, oh, Rob Whittaker loses to tall people, and I was like, oh, that's such reductive analysis. And then he went out and lost to another tall person, right? So sometimes there are common threads there. And yeah, when I look at the common thread, Christian Rodriguez can and will give him a competitive fight. Christian Rodriguez can beat him. Absolutely. Should he be favored? Maybe on their current momentums. You could argue there's more upside for the younger C-Rod. Okay, sure, if we're going to go off that. But, I mean, do you trust him at chalk? That's another question. Should he be favored, and do you trust him is another question. And even if I was picking Rodriguez, I don't know if I could trust him as chalk here. And I'm actually leaning toward Andre Fili, especially at 2-1. You know, I haven't officially pulled the trigger, but you know, you line up some dogs like a Fili or a Miles Johns in the 2-1 neighborhood. You lot your sources. You only just need maybe one to come through to get some profit there, depending on how you play it. But I'm leaning toward Fili here. Am I crazy?
No, I mean, I think Fili fights two close fights, regardless if he's the favorite or the underdog, unless he's getting finished. So, I mean, like, if C-Rod's going to cover this price, like, I think it's probably going to have to be from a finish, you know? So, I think it's either C-Rod inside the distance. I actually think the sub at plus 450, or I should probably get plus 500 or a little bit more, is you're going to have a chance, man. I think you're going to have at least one or two submission attempts.
Yes. Yeah.
But on the feet, like, I don't think C-Rod's going to do well against these bigger guys. Like Andre Fili's 5'11", long, lengthy, throws a lot of kicks. You know, C-Rod's not a bad striker. He's like 5'7", 5'8". Like, you're going to have to close the distance pretty hard. And at times, like, I also think sometimes he's been in so many fights where he's wrestling so much. I think he doesn't need to wrestle, but he feels like it's part of like a fight.
Yes.
Like, he has to wrestle, you know, like, it's weird.
Yeah.
Like against Costa, once he like started to strike a little bit in round 3, like, I thought he looked better, you know, it was weird. But
well, he also got rocked by a knee in Costa, and I think that Fili's knees are going to be really live in this fight too, especially you know, with his frame. But I will say, you mentioned the sub. I think that's live too, because you know, I'm not even somebody that puts too much into the last guillotine loss for Fili. But that being said, sub is live, and if you guys are looking for something else as a potential flyer, or if you're on Fili, you want a potential like insurance flyer, you could play the sub. But then also, fight goes to split decision is in 4-1 range as well. Like I was talking about before, if it's a competitive fight, and whether you end up being on the favorite in a parlay or you're taking a straight shot on the dog, maybe it wouldn't kill you to have like a split insurance hedge in there. The judges are never agreeing with each other, and if it's a fight that has a decent chance of going to decision, and if it is, it's going to be competitive, well, that's all you need.
Yeah, isn't it weird though? You know, they're thinking it's going to be a close decision, but the line is minus 250 for Christian Rodriguez. It just doesn't make sense. You know, Fili plus 3.5 is minus 200. Like, they think it's probably going to be a 29-28, one way or the other. So very weird lines to me. I might have to get there from the Fili money line perspective, but I'll probably have a little sprinkle on that C-Rod sub.
And I love C-Rod, by the way. I'm a C-Rod fan, so for what it's worth, folks. But
yeah, I mean, C-Rod's Milwaukee bred, dude. Right down the road. His best buddies there, Anthony Pettis and Sergio Pettis, APFC at Pato. Fuck Pato, by the way. Fuck Pato. They got me on that Kevin Vallejos KO for a rack, dude. That was brutal.
Oh.
For a rack.
Oh.
Like, it can't lose, dude. It can't lose. Kevin Vallejos is the truth. Didn't know Danny Silva had the fucking next.
That was insane.
In the UFC, dude. It was crazy. But all right, we'll get into the next one. Co-main event. Is this really? No, it's not the co-main event. Well, what happened to Ersg and Osborne? Is that fight off? Or they just not have it on the UFC? They can't. Well, we'll definitely talk about it. We'll pull it up on a different screen, but not the co-main event. Feature bout, I guess. Yasmin Lucindo taking on Angela Hill. I'm going to let you take the reins on this one to start us off. Some women's MMA. Let's see if you know chicks.
Dude, I will see if I know chicks. I don't know if I know chicks as good as my guy, Big Gun Brian Petrie, but I'll do my best here. Angela Hill, I've been on different sides of. I've never really had too strong like opinions, you know. I feel like, you know, the robbery, Angela Hill gets robbed crowd, you know, that annoyed me for a minute because I thought that was a little too much. That being said, you can score a lot of her fights differently. So Angela Hill in the Apex, she's 3-5 inside the smaller UFC Apex, that smaller cage folks, but that could easily be 5-3 when you look at fights, you know, some of those split decisions in there. And even like her last loss, I don't even think it was a split, right? I believe it was a unanimous to Ricci. But we've seen, you know, I call it the booty burglaries, right? The booty burglaries. Mackenzie Dern's got some of these, you know, where you don't know what the judges are watching, but I don't think it's the fights. And you get these weird scorecards, and you're like, yeah, I don't know if they were watching the fight. Can guess what they were maybe watching. But those weird tinfoil hats theories aside, Angela Hill is competitive. And with age, she's not necessarily getting worse, right? Like, I know MMA gambling, you know, MMA gamblers, I should say, very big on age. It's one of the biggest ageist things because it's combat sports is ageist, man. It's not the game for the young, man. The circle of life is very prevalent in this. That being said, we got to be careful about going too hard in certain narratives, especially, comparing women's for men's, because, as much as we all want equality and this and that, it's not the same, right? Like women's MMA is probably, it's caught up a lot. They've passed the Chuck and Tito, era of the sport or whatever, right? But they're still in that era where like the Randy Couture's and the guys that are over their 40s can still come back out of retirement and kick some ass. And you see that with the women, like the age doesn't play as much of a factor. And old dogs can learn new tricks. Like Angela Hill actually has gotten a lot better with her wrestling and her judo. And I think that's going to be really key here. Now in San Diego, there's a lot of really good judokas. In fact, Patty Pimblett travels all the way from Paddy Focanel. He travels all the way from Liverpool to train over in San Diego to train with some of their judokas there. There's like really high level grapplers all around. And a lot of women, again, back to what I said, I like backing women who train with a lot of women. Whereas Lucindo, man, I'm getting red flags from her. I hate to throw that F word around, right? You know the F word I'm talking about, right? It usually followed by a C word. Fraud checked, right? That's the popular word, right? Right. And I don't want to steer too hard because I picked Lucindo to beat Lemos. And I picked her because I'm like, oh yeah, she's gonna grapple Lemos and be on top, grind out a decision. It went the complete opposite way, right? Yeah. Now Lemos has underrated grappling, and I should have known better. But I just thought Lucindo's wrestling was better than it was, man. And I'll make those mistakes on Rees. I just did last week's card big time, right? Like I'm not beyond that, but it's how you correct those mistakes and reevaluate. And I did not like Lucindo's fight IQ. She's closing up her guard. Whenever someone closes up their guard, it's a big no-no. And when they close up their guard and their back is to the fence, that's a huge no-no. It's like, no, your tool is right there. Feet on the hips, get to the fence. Oh, yeah. And also bad cornering, right? Like we saw this, maybe we'll talk about in the main event, but Lucindo's got really bad cornering, like too as well. And look who she's training with. I don't see any other, not only names, but like no other females. She's training with a lot of males. I don't like that. Again, unless you're like a Zhang Weili super athlete, you've got good camps out your back that are proven in multiple places, you're doing the work. I don't like that. She hasn't proven or shown any of that. She's not working with any of that. Yeah, man, maybe I'm overcorrecting from being wrong last time. And again, I'm not even like the biggest Angela Hill fan, right? Like, but I do think she's super live here. I haven't pulled the trigger yet, but this is another, again, where I'm looking at the dog, and I have Vegas, so I don't get like the 2-3 combos and stuff like that, folks. And even my BetMGM house here, they don't let me they let me bet the splits for every fight except women's fights. So it won't be an option for me. But again, this is another fight where you can throw it in your round robin, throw a sprinkle on the split, as a flyer or as a potential hedge, maybe.
Dude, I don't know what Lucindo is, man. I just don't understand it because, she's young, but it's like you could give her some excuses as to what she's doing in the octagon. But sometimes I just watch her. I'm like, what's the thought process here? Like, yeah. I don't know what her plan is. I don't even know if she has a plan. And you could chalk that up to her being young, but the girl has like 23 fights, dude. Like she has a ton of fights.
Yes.
And it's sometimes like against Lemos. What are you doing? Like, what is the game plan here? I don't even think she knew what her game plan was. I think she just goes in there to fight. But honestly, sometimes she's not even fighting. She's just standing there like fainting at air, like not even in the realm of being able to throw a punch that lands. So I'm not really high on her either. I actually did fade her with Lemos her last fight.
Nice.
It was like, that was one of the big times where like film study actually pays off because Lemos's takedown defense on paper is terrible. So, Lucindo taking her down seemed easy, but Lucindo's takedowns are only body lock trips. She doesn't have single leg. She doesn't have a double leg. And if you watch any of Lemos's tape, she's not getting taken down from body lock. She's getting taken down from single legs and double legs. And when girls do try to body lock, take her down, she's super physical for the weight class. She's super strong. She just digs the underhooks and she's out. So I knew Lucindo was not going to have a lot of wrestling success in that one. And I think Lemos was going to be able to piece her up. I didn't know that Lemos was going to re-wrestle and end up on top. But in this one, it's like, I don't know that she's just going to go in there and bully Angela Hill, man. Like, Angela Hill she's got that old lady strength, dude. Like, Is Lucindo just going to grab a body lock and trip her and take her down? I don't think so. I think Lucindo's solid when she's on top, but her wrestling's not very good. So she's got to get the fight to the ground for me to cover this price tag. And honestly, when she does get her to the ground, I don't know if she's just going to keep her there. Because, I mean, I think Angela Hill has the ability to get back to the cage and get back up. Like, I don't think Angela Hill's out of this fight. But, the age difference does scare me. At least Angela Hill's on, like, a winning streak. Look at – or not a streak, but she's not coming off a win. And you look at who she's fighting before. Like, she's what, 6-2? Or 5-2 in her last 7? Like, she's losing to Mackenzie Dern and Tabitha Ricci. I guess, 2 girls that did take her down, but, Mackenzie Dern's a lot better on the ground than Lucindo, and Ricci didn't really hold her down for long.
No,
so
she didn't do much. It was more optics again, the booty burglary optics, but it was
exactly.
She gets girls up against the cage, and even though the judges aren't supposed to reward that, not much is happening in the round, and your eyes tend to focus on a general fighter in that case. Yeah. But no, it was awfully close, man. And one thing I'll just add, because you just said it beautifully, was the she only does takedowns from the clinch, and that's why I was emphasizing the judo improvements, because she went against the air quotes judo world champion Luana Pinheiro, right? Granted, Pinheiro is strong early, and she is strong in that clinch, and it was the re-wrestling takedowns, like similar to what Lemos was able to do to Lucindo, Hill was doing to Pinheiro before she eventually out-grappled her. And obviously, she was just trying to avoid the neutralization grappling of Ricci, so that didn't count. She didn't go for wrestling there. But you look at it, not just in the stats, like you said, you go look at the tape, she is looking way more comfortable, way more competent offensively and defensively. So, yeah, man, this is probably my third dog pick of the card here for me.
Yeah, I think that's going to be for me as well. I mean, Neil Magny just got a win last week. Neil Magny got a win last week. So, I mean, Angela Hill coming through this week, man. The male or female version of Neil Magny, she getting it done. Plus 175, man. I don't think I can pass it up.
Is it racist that I made that connection in my head too? I was thinking that she was the Neil Magny of the card.
Of course not. I mean, they kind of look the same. They got the same hair. They're both. I mean, she's the auntie. Neil Magny's the unk. So I mean, they're the same film.
Respect for the unks out there.
Respect. I mean, it is the unk season, dude. They've been killing it recently.
Dude, I'm turning 40 this week, so I can't hate on the unks anymore, man.
Definitely can. You definitely can. It's funny to me because we're getting into the realm where Elijah Smith's 22, so I can call him a kid now because he's younger.
Yes, yeah.
Like I can call him a kid. It's funny.
I always do that when I'm like cornering or coaching guys. I'm like, that a kid?
Yeah.
Like, what am I, old man coaching from the sidelines here?
Exactly.
Sorry.
Happy 40th from Hood Saturday. Yeah, happy.
Hey, what's up? Thank you guys.
All right, I guess we're both on Angie Hill. I mean, I'm just not sold on Lucindo, man. We'll see. We'll see if she can get it to the ground or not. But we'll go to this tab, and we'll go to the co-main event of the evening. Steve Ersg taking on O'Day Osborne. Steve is supposed to fight. Who was he supposed to fight originally? He was supposed to fight
Young Sung Park.
Wasn't there somebody else? Oh, he was supposed to fight Alex Perez. He was supposed to fight Alex Perez.
Yes.
And then he was supposed to fight Young Sung Park. And now he's fighting O'Day Osborne. It's going to be at 135, not 125. So it plays a factor a little bit. I mean, both guys probably caught a good amount of weight to make 125. So that's interesting. O'Day, trains in Vegas. Is he training at Extreme?
No, he's a syndicate guy. Oh, no, actually not anymore. He trains so it's interesting. I'm curious if he was in that Albazi camp, because Albazi is one of his main training partners. He trains with like that smaller group, Garbrandt's in that group under Dewey Cooper. And so they'll cross train and do a lot of their sparring at the PI. Not to really, a lot of these guys, unless they're team syndicate or team couture, they'll go like in the middle, into the PIs be the middle ground. So yeah, he kind of makeshifts his camps that way.
Interesting. Well, he's was from I don't know if he's from Wisconsin, but he went to college in Wisconsin.
Yes. Yep.
Carroll, and then he was training at Pura Vida, and then he moved to Vegas. So
yep,
a little bit of a Wisconsin tie towards me, but either way, he's a Vegas guy now, and he's stepping in here against Ersg. Ersg 3-fight losing streak, not looking good for your boy. but he's losing to the best of the best, so you can't really knock him too much there. O'Day coming off the big knockout to Luis Garule at the Apex not too long ago as an underdog as well. He's a big underdog here, plus 400 is what I'm seeing. Obviously, it's a huge step up in competition for him, huge step down in competition for Ersg.
Yeah.
What do you think about this one?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Ersg, we haven't seen him against any southpaws. He's technically 0-0 against UFC level southpaws. He's 1-0 in that Apex, that knockout over Matt Schnell, I believe it was. Whereas O'Day Osborne, coming off a win in that Apex, he stands 4-1 total in that UFC Apex. I interviewed him for Home of Fight before his last fight, which upset win over Luis Garule. Was able to do his thing. Nice pull counter, I believe, if memory serves, off that one. And when I spoke to O'Day before that fight, interviews can be interviews or whatever, but, I've heard my colleagues say this, especially ones that have a bigger sample size of doing it than me. It can sound woo-woo or tinfoil hat, but when you develop enough of a sample size, you can kind of tell sometimes, like the fighters that are just answering the questions to the fighters that are really confident, really locked in. I remember people saying, before Eddie Alvarez upset RDA as a huge underdog, was on that one, thankfully. But I remember feeling on an island on that dog shot. But then I remember hearing like colleagues going like, dude, something about Alvarez. He seems locked in this weekend. You can never really listen to that talk. But O'Day gave me those vibes. And unfortunately, I didn't, pick or play him at the betting window. That would have been nice, right? I don't think I was on the other side either. So I don't think it hurt. But I was like, wow, sure enough, he was on point, even though it was shorter notice. He seems to be a guy that, stays ready, takes his career seriously. That being said, on the ground or getting his kicks countered can be a problem. And Ersg, he's aware that O'Day can also counter kicks, but Erseg's counters, I think, is where he usually makes his most money. So I'm curious if they'll stare at each other early because of that. They both do their best work off the counter. They're both dangerous. But here's what it is, and back to interviews, which again, you should only take with a grain of salt. That being said, like Ersg had a really underrated grappling game, I thought, and we've seen him get away from that. And he looked not great in his last fight. And I like when the fighter interviews lines up to what you're seeing on paper, where he was honest. He's like, yeah, I fought like crap. I wasn't in a great mindset. I've gotten away from certain skills, like my grappling. Like he said everything like I wanted to hear. And I was seeing myself like, doesn't mean he's going to win. Yeah. Like, no, even though he's favored to win, obviously. Yeah. But what he did allude to, and why I'm giving this such a breakdown treatment, is because I think he's going to go for the sub here, Hey Jive. And I think that's what's going to be most live here. Ersg by sub, of course they know it because they priced it. See, usually his sub is not as high. It's usually like KO or decision, but they know it. See, it's not they know it. They nerfed the sub line a bit, but I think that's what's live here. And depending on what my round robin looks like, I may still throw that in my round robin. But I got Ersg by submission here, I think, is the live look.
Yeah, they know that's O'Day's weakness too, is the grappling.
Yeah.
And obviously, if Ersg wants to get through this one easy, you should look for that takedown early. And I think you can do it. I think you can do it, man. I don't think Ersg is going to get this guy to the ground and not have a chance to finish the fight. But if O'Day and Ersg strike it out, man, I mean, O'Day can knock out a lot of guys, man. Like he is fast as shit. He's long as shit. He has good timing, and Erseg's been cracked. So, I mean, more than anything, I think this fight doesn't go to decision, man. I don't really see, unless Ersg just fights like a complete puss, like I don't see how it goes to decision because O'Day's going to have possibilities to counter him. I think Ersg could knock him out too. O'Day's been cracked before, and if he gets him down to the ground, I think Erseg's good enough to get him out of there. So I like that. I'm with you on the Ersg sub. I'm looking at these like round 1, round 2 subs.
Yeah.
Plus 500 round 1, plus 800.
Gonna have to get creative on that. Yeah, the rounds and the subs. Because I feel like the under 1.5 is kind of a trap, especially if, like I said, they come out and it's a staring contest. And let's say you lose half the first round, then you're really sweating it under 1.5 if you've lost half of it for a staring contest. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree.
So it's a little too much of a trap. So I agree. Don't get greedy. Fight doesn't go is a great leg. And you could get cheeky with some submission props.
Very true. I'm with you on that. I'm not going to add too much else because you covered it pretty much, but I'm with you. I like the Ersg sub. I like fight doesn't go. All right, we're at the main event. I'm going to hit these chats real quick, and I got to remind y'all that if you want the parlay, we got to get the likes up. We got to get the likes up. We're at 63 likes, ladies and gentlemen. I'd said 150, but I don't think we're going to get to 150. If we can get it to 100 likes by the end of the main event breakdown, we'll cook a little parlay for you to end the show. But we got to get to 100. If we don't get to 100, I'm not doing it because I already went down a little bit than I initially said. But we get to the main event here. We got Roman Dolidze taking on Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. Fluffy, huge winning streak. Roman Dolidze on a nice little streak himself. I mean, I never thought Dolidze was going to be that great, but the guy is extremely physical, very strong, good ground skills, and I always thought his striking was just atrocious. But when I was making my breakdown for Marvin Vettori in his last fight, I went back and watched the Marvin Vettori fight the first time, and his striking looked terrible. But then you watch him fight more recently, and I thought he made some real improvements in the striking. So that's why I played him at dog odds against Vettori, also due to Vettori's shoulder injury and stuff like that. But, you know, I mean, I think he's making a lot of improvements. So it's good for Dolidze. He's kind of old for the division, but, I mean, he's making improvements. He's making his run, but he's in front of just a guy you don't want to be in there with against Anthony Hernandez. So this is going to be real simple for me. I mean, it's Roman Dolidze round 1 or 2. And then once we get to round 3, it's all Fluffy Hernandez. And I don't know. I can completely understand, how somebody would want to take a dog shot on Roman Dolidze at what, plus 285, somewhere around there. I'll pull up the odds right here. Plus 270 on Roman Dolidze. I completely understand.
Yeah.
But once that fight hits round 2, there becomes a point in every Anthony Hernandez fight where the fight is over. It's just a matter of if you can survive till the final bell. Brendan Allen had a good first round, but after that, no. Michel Pereira had a decent first round, but after that, he was done. Every single fight, there becomes a point where the fight's done. So I get why you would play Roman Dolidze pre, because he has that early finishing upside. And I do think he could give Hernandez some problems on the ground, but it's not like he's just tearing off everybody's leg that he goes to the ground with. Like, obviously he put Hermansson in that bad spot, got the TKO. He tore up Phil Hawes's knee, got the TKO, but he's been on the ground before with Lariani, Staropoli, Trevin Giles. Like, he's not just, you go to the ground with him, the fight's over. Like, it's not that type of grappling. I can understand the shot on Dolidze, but I think Hernandez just does what he does, stays safe, and cooks him. It's just 5 rounds. Like, 25 minutes with Anthony Hernandez is not something I would want to sign up for personally, and I don't think Roman Dolidze would want to either. He would much rather this be a 3-round fight. Roman Dolidze is a guy has had poor cardio throughout his career, and now all of a sudden, because he went to a decision with Marvin Vettori, his cardio is good. Like, Marvin Vettori does have good cardio, but he's not a guy that pushes a hard pace. Like, he's there for 25 minutes. He's not going to gas out. But Hernandez's pace is like Marab level pace. You're going to be tired. And honestly, in this upper weight class, they get a lot more tired quicker than those guys at 135. So it's Fluffy for me, 3, 4, 5. But, I wouldn't be shocked if Dolidze hits him with a big body shot. I mean, those are Hernandez's only 2 losses. It's a body shot. Was it Marcus Perez hit him with a shot to the body? I think it was a body kick, and then ultimately submitted him on the ground, but hurt him on the feet with the body kick. And then obviously Kevin Holland kneed him to the body and got him out of there. So we know he's soft to the body, and Dolidze does hit hard, so he can definitely hurt him and get him out. But I think it's got to be the first 2 rounds. What do you think?
So I said I wanted to parlay that over with my most confident pick. And I said that I don't always pick extreme couture fighters, right? And Roman Dolidze is a guy he finishes his camps extreme couture. He'll have my guy Eric Nixick in there. And I have admitted bias there. But again, we got to be pros here. I don't always pick fighters from my gym, believe it or not, as crazy as that sounds, and whatnot. And, guys like Eric, we talk and share trade notes all the time. Like, he knows the game. And I know that Eric knows that Fluffy Hernandez is soft the body. I know that Eric's going to have a great game plan for Roman Dolidze. Roman Dolidze has had great training partners to go in there against. Been, watching him spar. He's even with former Hernandez opponents like Michel Pereira, who looks huge, by the way. I'm like watching Michel Pereira like spar with like middleweights like Brad Tavares and making Brad look like he's a welterweight. It's insane. I don't know how that guy ever got to 170. Anyways, all these things are going to be there for him. He's a live dog. Like, all the things you would want to justify that argument is there, not denying it. And my bias should be driving me that way. Back to interviews, Roman Dolidze is like, I'm a submission guy and I haven't officially gotten any submissions, right? You laid out how those became TKOs. He's like, I want a submission. I'm like, ooh, cheeky Roman's Dolidze submission play, right? Like, I get all that, and I may in fact probably do some kind of cheeky Roman round 1 or round 2. I won't do a method because, again, it could be a submission that leads to a TKO. But ultimately, I'm big on Fluffy here, man, and I was a little worried. But when I went back to watch the grappling, it basically comes down to two things, right? It's Fluffy's riding style and how he's going to get out of leg locks, right? And we talked about the Andre Fili getting caught by a guillotine, where it's like he was just so comfortable because it's like one of those things where it's your move or you're so used to it that you get lackadaisical. And Jack Hermanson was the leg lock guy, right? He was the guy upsetting Kelvin Gastelum early. How did he get caught? When I'm looking back at it, and I'm not taking anything away because Dolidze moves super well, is super fluid chains, awesome, deserves all that credit. But also, like, you look at like Trevin Giles, who is a black belt in jiu-jitsu, but it's more like traditional jiu-jitsu. He's not like a big jiu-jitsu guy, and he was pretty comfortable. He was like, yeah, whatever, you don't got nothing. And he was almost like too lackadaisical, where I was like, even watching it back and knowing the result, I was worried for Jay Giles there, Trevin Giles. And the same thing with Jack Hermanson. I'm like, did you just like underestimate it? Because it was a really stupid mistake that even led to it. Like, a real basic mistake that Jack should know better. He didn't square up to his guy in guard, which allowed that whole sequence. And I'm looking at Hernandez, man, and he doesn't play that. He plays off to the side, wrestling ride, catch style, cradles. And I think that's going to be tough. And ultimately, what it comes down to for me is that Roman Dolidze, when he gets guys down, he's not really big, even a big top player if he ends up on top. Like, Brandon Allen was actually able to get Fluffy Hernandez in trouble in their rematch last fight. Like, I don't know if Roman can even do that because guys give their back all the time. And you know how many times Roman's even jumped for a back or jumped for their neck? Zero. So even if he gets to his realm, Fluffy's going to turtle up like he always does, right? Whereas conversely, the guy who's probably going to get taken down here, Roman, who is strong and is big and as good of a grappler, is not the best wrestling, right? I don't know if he's going to learn that overnight. Like you said, he's a little older, 37, and he didn't even start martial arts until he was 22 or 23 years old. He went most of his life as a soccer player, Dolidze. So I don't know if that's better for him or worse for him that he's this older. But yeah, every time he gets up, hey, Jeff, he gives his back, dude. He goes on all fours. He gets to that tripod position. And that is where Fluffy Hernandez makes his home. There's probably, not just at middleweight, there's probably no better fighter that knows what to do when a fighter is tripoded in any division, I might argue, than a Fluffy Hernandez with his kind of, not a Dagestani spin cycle, but he's got his own spin cycles of front chokes, rides, re-wrestle you down, cradle you. And I think he's going to put him through that, man. Give me Fluffy rounds 3, 4, and 5. And if you parlay Fluffy with that over I talked about, that's plus 107.
Over 1.5? Oh no, you're talking a different fight.
The over in I don't know if you liked it, but I liked it as as far as the Anders and CLD fight over. Parlay those two, it's plus money.
Yeah, I mean, when I'm looking at the money line here, it's like I'm not gonna be playing Hernandez money line because you're paying a heavy price for a guy that could easily lose in the first round or two. So maybe like a Hernandez in the over 1.5 or over 2.5 if you could do a same game parlay.
Yeah, SGP, sure.
Yeah, or just 3, 4, 5. The thing is, like, Roman's never been finished, so that's like where that's the problem. Roman's so damn tough; he's never been finished. But I feel like it's going to be real tough to go 25 with Hernandez. Just making it 15 in that 3, 4, 5 period is going to be tough. I think it's going to be coming down to, if Hernandez is looking for those chokes or looking for really hard ground and pound type of stuff. But yeah, I mean, what's Roman round one? Roman round one is plus 650.
That's
Obviously,
high. That's high enough to sprinkle a little bit.
yeah, you'll get better than this too on a different book.
Yes, yeah. Other houses when they open.
3, 4.
I
mean,
liked the over when it was minus 110, but it's gone up to minus 130, which isn't too much of a stretch. But I liked it when it was minus 110 earlier.
Yeah,
I almost fired.
Hernandez minus 5.5, minus 155. See, that's not bad. That's not bad. Like, just think about it in this realm. Minus 5.
Actually, yeah.
Minus 155. Like, okay, if he loses, probably gonna get finished in the first round or two. And instead of playing minus 330, you're playing minus 155. But if he wins, you pretty much bank 3, 4, and 5. And if he gets a finish, obviously he cashes. So I mean, that's kind of an angle. It's kind of an angle I like.
Yeah, and you get the 5.5 to the 5 rounds of scoring time, and he'll get lopsided rounds in there if we make it to the later rounds, because like you said, Roman doesn't get finished. So even if that's the case, there'll probably be like hella lopsided rounds like the Michelle fight.
Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely gonna be looking at those minus more often though, just because the plus 3.5 I think it's just like taking insurance. This is like buying down a favorite for domination at some point, in the fight, some point domination. I think it could happen. So,
but someone's also going to body shot KO Fluffy Hernandez sometime, and it could be this Saturday. So yeah, that round 1 and 2, if it does happen, it'll probably happen then.
Exactly. I mean, what's Roman round 1 TKO? Oh, it's subline is crazy. What is the subline straight up? I know. Yeah, I mean, dude, like, if there's ever a chance for him to get a sub here, I mean, Hernandez has been sub before, so I mean, it's not.
The problem is that he's only done those joint locks, and Hernandez is like, he already has like broken limbs and stuff going. Like he's broken hands all the time. The Brendan Allen fight, he had an infection and broken ribs. That's why that fight actually wasn't as dominant as people projected. So it's like, yes, the only choke submission I ever saw Dolidze go for was a guillotine when he was already being taken down. Against Jack Hermanson. That was like the only. And Anthony Hernandez fights out of those like second nature. With his style, he's always fighting out of that shit. So
I'm pretty sure Dolidze has like 33% takedown defense, like in the UFC.
Yeah,
that's just terrible. No, that's just terrible.
Because he loves grappling so much, he welcomes it, which is just bad. Because Hernandez is not the best wrestler, but he is getting better in his wrestling too. And it looks like he's been working with a lot of wrestlers and did spend some time over in Iowa, as well as some of the college wrestling camps in NorCal.
Yeah, and one thing, it's like it doesn't even matter if you have good takedown defense, because Kovylov has elite takedown defense.
Yeah,
he stuffed 10 takedowns in round 1. Didn't matter. Round 2, he's tired. It's just the spin cycle is real. Gilbert says Anthony Hernandez with the win. I agree with you, Gil. Fluffy will be the champ. He's a natural like Marab. You can't catch the skills. Yeah. You can't coach the skills they have, but you can coach striking. True. Fluffy does give me a little bit of a scare every single fight, though. He just like needs to get smacked in the face before he starts fighting. It's like, dude, just shoot the takedown already, dude. Like, just clinch him up. What are you doing at range, like with your hands down, trying to eat these shots? Just recipe for disaster.
Yep.
Dan, give us a little round robin play. If you're inclined to do so, go ahead, brother.
I'll see what I'm looking at. Let's go Ersg by sub. We'll go just throw Miles John's money line. That's wide enough. Let's go shit, man. Put me on the spot here. Let's go Fernandez round 2. Get cheeky with it. And then give me what's Feely by decision?
I think it's plus
300. What's her name by decision? Female Neil Magny, as we so sensitively put it.
Angie's like plus 190, I think, plus 200.
Bucket. It's just a 4-legger. That's all I need. I can't go too high if I got a plus 175 in there. Yeah, so give me Ersg by sub, Angie by points, Fernandez round 2, and we went with just the Miles Johns money lines. That's 3 different style of plays there in a 4-legger round robin.
There we go. We couldn't get to 100 likes, so we can't give you the long shot parlay, but Dan Tom did hook you up with a round robin.
There we go. There we go.
All right, brother. We're going to hop out of here, but you want to say anything to the chat? Shout out anything? Here's your chance, bro.
Dude, appreciate everybody showing up, man. Like, and just, from the Dixon Siders to the Dan Levy's of the world and everybody else that I missed and didn't see and missed. I appreciate the love, but make sure you give love to this channel. Give my guy a like. Subscribe if you're for whatever reason not. This dude is hot. I am not. I'm just trying to give my best analysis, which I always do every week for free. And hopefully, you guys can make the most out of it. And hopefully I can not fumble the bag, but we're going to do our best this weekend, man. Thank you for having me, Hayden.
I appreciate it. And just a reminder for everybody that didn't hear it at the top of the show, the live betting show or live betting breakdown show next week and forever throughout the Dana White Contender Series is going to be on Wednesday, because we're not doing it during the Contender Series. We're going to be watching, we're going to be betting, we're going to be cashing. All right, so live betting breakdown, not Tuesday anymore. It's going to be Wednesday next week. And we got a good guest lined up for next week as well. So stay tuned for that. We got the official picks video coming to you tomorrow. Best bets video on Thursday, and Friday we got the Long Shots Only live show. Going to be a good week. Going to be cashing some bets. Appreciate y'all. Till next time, hey, Job Picks and Dan Tom. We out.